Dennis Vircic, CroatianSports.com, here with our good friend Andrew Bogut. Andrew, last year we introduced you as the only NBA player with Croatian blood. This year we have two Croatian NBA players who were born in Croatia, Bojan Bogdanovic and Damian Rudej. Did you get a chance to meet either of them?
Saw Boyan. We played them about 3 or 4 weeks ago, so I said hello to him real quick.
Real quick off the top of your head, the best European player to play in the NBA of all time.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I mean, mine's Drazen Petrovic probably, just because he started the wave of international players, him and Sarunas, Marshalonis. But I think Drazen came over here with an attitude of that he wasn't just going to be a bench player and get limited minutes. He wanted to go out there and be a starter, and he's out there talking trash to Michael Jordan and Reggie Miller and those guys. So for him to show that it's possible for an international player to come over to the NBA and not only play but play vital minutes was great.
What about Dirk Nowitzki? How do you feel about him?
Dirk's still going, so I think once his career's over, it'll probably be a bit easier to judge. But he's definitely one of the best of all time as well. But I mean, I'm probably biased a little bit with my Croatian roots, and Dražen's obviously a guy that I looked up to. So obviously got Steve Nash as well, who you can't forget about being from Canada. And there's a long list of guys.
Novak Djokovic just made headlines last month by saying that he's been offered $100,000 to fix a match. Obviously, he declined. It's a huge story in tennis. Does any of that kind of stuff happen in the NBA, in college, in Australia, with Utah? Did you hear anything? Were you ever approached? I know it's a sensitive topic, but what do you think?
Even if I was, I probably wouldn't say. But honestly, I never have. I've never been in positions where I've gambled or got into bad crowds where I had to return favors or do any of that stuff for anyone to even have the audacity to ask me. So definitely not. But it's a dangerous game. It could be as simple as a friend asking you, is Steph Curry playing tonight? I heard he might not play, and us giving that answer as just to a friend. They could use that as knowledge for gambling and putting money on games. So you have to be very, very careful. And the NBA does a pretty good job of letting us know those things.
Alija Tomljanovic just recently jumped ship, made headlines in Croatia, jumped ship to Australia to represent Australia, a country she's never lived in. How do you feel about athletes representing other richer countries, countries where they probably haven't never stepped foot in?
It's an interesting one. I mean, it happens all the time in Europe. So it's very interesting for it to happen the other way, because usually it's players going over to Europe and converting over there. In this day and age, you can't criticize anybody for doing it, and it's a tough situation because a factor for me was I was born and raised in Australia, but Croatian roots. Unfortunately, my parents left Croatia. It wasn't really by choice with our family history and whatnot, but. Each to their own. I think it's if you feel proud and you feel part of a certain country, you should be allowed to play for it. But on the flip side, there's some teams in Europe at the Eurobasket that have now got former Americans playing for their country that somehow get a passport or a citizenship within 6 months. To me, that's questionable on FIBA's behalf. But they're the rules, and we got to live by them.
You told us in the past that you were close to joining Cibona. You had a chance of going down that route in your career. If you went down that route and played for a Croatian club team, is there any chance that you would have maybe possibly be considered for the national team, played for Croatia, or was your heart always for Australia? Were you kind of...
Well, it was always for Australia, but before I even played for Australia, that decision came along. It was I had a tryout to make the All-Australian team or the Australian national junior team, and join the Australian Institute of Sport. So my emphasis was that if I didn't make that squad and get that scholarship, I was going to go and try out for the Cibona cadet team, and then hopefully make the senior team one day, and then who knows what would have happened from there. I'm sure Croatia would have recruited me very. Put a lot of pressure on me to try and play for Croatia, and who knows what would have happened. But the way it's worked out has been perfect, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Croatian fans made headlines in Milan by throwing flares onto the pitch. Guardian writer actually went on record by saying it was a terrorist act. What are your thoughts on the Croatian fans in Milan? Is that the right thing to do? Is that something that fans should be doing? Is there a safer way? What do you feel? How do you feel about their approach?
Well, it wasn't right. Obviously, the federations and different countries get fined for these things, but the last thing me being as a pro athlete is wanting to be out there and getting hurt by a flare or a coin or something like that. I think those times need to be behind us. There's nothing more better looking at a soccer game though than seeing the flare show sometimes, because it's a great spectacle, but at the same time it becomes very dangerous. I've heard rumors that it was a protest over certain things in the Croatian Soccer Federation and this and that, and I think people need to realise that the players are involved, and not only that, someone in the crowd could get hit in the head with a flare, or whoever it may be. There's children there, there's babies there. So I don't condone it. I don't think it's a smart thing to do. When you're a kid, you think it's cool looking at it, but once you realise the ramifications of what it can do, the last thing you want is soccer games and basketball games or whatever being played with no fans in the stadiums, because that happens a lot in Europe, especially in basketball, and it's not good.
You're a Dinamo Zagreb fan. Obviously, they're winning titles, they're winning games. Fans are not showing up. They're trying to make a point. What do you feel needs to change in not only for Dinamo, but within the federation, within Croatian soccer altogether?
It's hard. It's a hard one. I mean, obviously, it's Croatia's not in the strongest economic times right now. So for people to go and spend money on a ticket to go to a soccer game is a little tough. We all know that a lot of people over there are doing it rough, especially war veterans and so on. And a lot of the economy has dried up since joining the European Union. So I think luxuries such as concerts, sports, and going out to eat and all that aren't really enjoyed by Croatians at this point, just because I think economically people are trying to look after their kids and their families. So obviously there is some politics there. People like Mamic, some people don't. They're winning games, so you think they get more support, but there's obviously an underlying problem there that needs to be addressed.
Colin Cowherd went on record by saying that he's never wore a jersey or a T-shirt with another man's last name on the back. Colin Cowherd, ESPN. Do you own any jerseys with another black person's last name on the back? Do you frame them? Do you burn them? What's your take on that?
I mean, I did as a kid. I mean, I had a Drazen Petrovic jersey, I had a Tony Kukoc jersey, I had a Luke Longley jersey, players that I kind of identified with, mainly Australian or Croatian players. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it as a kid. There's nothing better than being 11 or 12 years old and putting on a Michael Jordan jersey and going in the backyard and thinking of Michael Jordan. I think that's why a lot of us are here today in the NBA, because we're out there playing non-stop, and everyone emulated somebody and pretended that they were them. I think it's the cool part of adolescence and growing up. So, each to their own. But I think most you find 9 out of 10 kids have put on someone's jersey at one point and pretended they were them.
Have you seen any of the Marshawn Lynch interviews?
Yeah, a few of them. Pretty funny.
I know it's funny. He's trying to make a point and all that, but how do you feel about media in general? Like, do athletes hate? Do some athletes want to talk to the media, get their name out, get their word out? Some are shy. Like, what would make him answer questions like that?
I think from what I know, I'm not really that big into the NFL. I've seen it because my teammates laugh about it and watch it. I've watched the podium one with the cutout and the last couple, but from what I understand, the NFL mandates that you have to do media after every game. So I think that's a problem for him. He's not the most well-spoken person probably, and he's kind of a shy guy. And I guess he feels like he shouldn't be forced to do that. He's paid to play football, but at the same time, I know and understand that the media is a big part of why we are who we are, why we earn the living that we do. So you have to give respect and time to the media, but at the same time, I think the media sometimes needs to give that same respect back, because there can be times where things are overdone or certain issues are overpressed. But that's a part of the world we're living, especially with social media now as well. It's just everything's instant, and when there's a scandal these days, it seems to last longer than it did back in the day, because it's viral and it's easy to get out there.
Has there been someone from the media that really, really pissed you off, that really answered difficult questions, inappropriate questions, something that you remember that was just like something that media shouldn't do?
No one specifically. I mean, there's going to be people like that, and look, you have to understand there's some people in the media that want to make their name from getting aroused from you and getting you to say something silly or get fired up. You can't take it too personally. I mean, the media are paid to talk, we're paid to play basketball, so it doesn't really offend me too much. I've had fans say crazier things, media say crazier things, on the road you hear crazy things, and that's the reason why we're obviously professional athletes, and we do what we love every day and pay the salaries we're paid, because there's more than just basketball you have to deal with, and that's just a part of being a pro athlete.
Andrew, thanks for taking time with us once again, our fourth interview now.